I want to thank you all so much for coming to Conversations on Culture today. We're really thrilled and extremely honored to have the artists of the Camden Invincible Project here with us today. And I'm going to turn the mic over to Vidra Chandler in just a moment so she can do a little bit of an introduction. Vidra is one of the key partners in this project with Camden Community Partnerships and was instrumental in gathering this group of artists and instrumental in seeing this project through. So I really want to give her time to describe the project, talk to you a little bit about what the project was all about, its origins, as well as introduce the other artists. So without further ado, Vidra.
Hi, all right. All right, hi everybody. My name is Vidra Chandler. I am a project manager at Camden Community Partnership, formerly Cooper's Ferry Partnership, for people who might be familiar with our organization. Camden Community Partnership is a nonprofit organization that does community and economic development projects in the city of Camden exclusively. So we do everything from road infrastructure projects to park renovations to, we develop neighborhood plans along with some of our resident neighborhood associations. And of course, we do awesome public art projects, which is a lot of where I come in. I also organize and manage an initiative called Connect the Lots Camden, which is designed to program and activate Camden's parks and open spaces. The city of Camden does not currently have a parks department, and my organization has stepped in to fill this part of the parks department gap. There are lots of other nonprofits as well as our Department of Public Works who do the other kind of work of a parks department, but it is a work in progress, and it will not always be the case that we don't have this department. It's coming, but just to give you some context about kind of where this initiative came from and where some of these public artworks came from, so much beauty, right, in parks, so much opportunity for health and wellness and well-being. And so programming our parks with activities from fitness class to music to festivals has long since been a tenet of the Connect the Lots program, which was founded in 2014. And then starting a little bit later in its tenure, we started to introduce the concept of public art, of sculpture and murals and things like this. Of course, these can be seen in parks around the area, in other county parks, in Philly, always adding a little bit of vibrancy and also just contributing a little bit of culture to our parks and open spaces. So one of the joys of the work that I've been able to do around public art and with these amazing people sitting around me is tap into the talent of Camden residents and Camden stakeholders and Camdenites of all kinds to produce art that speaks about and speaks to our community, that inspires and grows, but that also cultivates learning and togetherness and community in the arts community itself. I'm also an artist. I'm not a visual artist. I cannot make art with my hands. I cannot make art with my hands. That includes sewing, drawing, painting, forget it. But I'll sing you a song any day and do a dance number for you. But I wish that earlier in my life, I had been encouraged to pursue art as a career. There are so many opportunities there. And so when I see, and I had a great career as a performance artist for about 15 years when I was on tour with Broadway musicals. I sang for Cirque du Soleil for a while. And these have been some of the most rewarding experiences of my life, both personal and professional. And so when I see artists that are doing their thing and kind of wondering like how far to go with it, I'm always inspired and encouraged to push and say, please go as far as you can. Like, don't let anybody tell you that you have to be Beyonce in order to be, a singer. You don't have to be, you might want to try. You want to strive, but there are so many ways to be a creative, a professional creative, and to find yourself in this medium. And so I just relish the opportunity to help other Camden residents to embrace this prospect and embrace this avenue and to pursue the opportunity to be what I think is often like the most complete version of yourself. You don't have to shove it in a corner. You don't have to put it aside. If it's a talent and a passion, then I would love to help people to create opportunities for people to bring that to the forefront and to understand that there's a way to be a professional and to earn your living and your livelihood this way. Which brings us a little bit to this project. So I'll back up just a tad and talk about a project that we did last year called A New View Camden, which was a public art installation in the city of Camden on 6 vacant lots that had previously been subject to lots of illegal dumping. We won a grant from Bloomberg Philanthropies to draw attention to a specific civic issue in Camden with the use of public art, and illegal dumping was our topic. Camden spends about $4 million a year cleaning up trash illegally dumped on vacant lots by whomever, right? We have contractors driving in from out of town, people gutting houses, people doing all variety of project, find a dark, empty spot in the city, dump their trash there. The next day, the sun comes up, the neighbors look up, and their backyards or the lot next to their house is full of refuse. And who is supposed to come and get that? You know, there are dumps for this. There are places you're supposed to take this trash. People don't want to pay. But then who pays is us. So our Department of Public Works has to go out, has to collect this trash, has to take it to the dump. And it happens with such frequency that even though we're spending all this money, time, and energy, there's still trash everywhere. So this was such an important issue for us, not only for outsiders, but for residents to understand, like, this is not your fault. You know, you didn't do this to yourself. This is something that's happening to us. Like, we are being victimized once again. Happens a lot. And that there's a way to speak out about it and a way to understand it. And we chose to draw attention to it through public art and sculpture. So the people that are sitting here with me today were very closely related to that project and several others that we've done in the city of Camden, and helped the artists that were selected for that project to create their art, to get to know our Camden community, and also spearheaded projects for A New View all their own, like Eric James Montgomery here, who had his own A New View art installation. And from there, we really were able to grow our network of our artist community in Camden. And it really brought a lot of people out of the woodwork. And I was really excited to meet some artists that I didn't know, bringing us to today, where I continue to know and work with these people. So it's very exciting for a Camden Community Partnership perspective, because we have so many projects that we do in the city that could use a paintbrush, that could use a creative eye. And it's a much less of a challenge now for us to identify some of the people that can help us to bring vibrancy to some of the projects that we're already doing, and also help us to come up with ideas for new projects that we can do. Backing up again, in 2015, Camden Community Partnership was launching Connect the Lots, and we hosted an event called Camden Night Gardens, which is coming up. Yes, which is so fun. It's coming up again on Friday, May 20th, so mark your calendar. But as part of this event, we had local artists from around the region come and paint letters. And these letters spelled out the word City Invincible. So if people don't know already, the poet Walt Whitman, who made Camden his home, and his last home, actually, many years ago, described Camden as a city invincible. And these words are etched on Camden City Hall, and we relish these words and use them all the time. So we made a really cool City Invincible mural. We hung it in several places. First, it appeared at Coopers Point Waterfront Park. It was on a fence somewhere that I forget about. And then it finally made its way to Admiral Wilson Boulevard, where lots of people could see it. And after years of loving it, enjoying it, and being rained on and snowed on and whatnot, it kind of started to crumble and fall apart. And as letters started coming down, we started being like, oh no, what are we gonna do? But of course, this was an opportunity. And so together with some support from Camden County government, we were able to recreate these letters, but we thought that it might be a little bit more descriptive on Admiral Wilson Boulevard to change it from City Invincible to Camden Invincible, which is what you see now. But in that process, we needed somebody to create the letters in the word Camden. And so that brings us to the folks that you see today. Through the work that I've been doing at Camden Community Partnership, through A New View, through so many of the other awesome projects that I've been able to work on, again, it has been my absolute pleasure to meet so many talented artists that have called Camden their home base, that are either born and raised in the city or have their studios in the city, and to be able to then the county basically to say, like, we're about to do this project, what do we do? And for me to be like, I have the people. Don't worry, was like one of the greatest thrills that I've had in my career so far. So I'm here today to introduce you to some of the artists that worked on those letters with us. They can talk to you a little bit about their journeys, how they came to be artists, how they came to be Camden residents or Camden affiliated, what the work that we do in town means to us, and maybe a little bit about what they put into the letters that you see when you ride down Admiral Wilson Boulevard now. So I will stop talking for a few minutes, and let me know what you guys want to do next. Do you want to have questions? Do you want me to just ask people one at a time? Yeah, we can go down the road. That sounds great.
All right, I'll start. Hi, everyone. My name is Tarina, and I think I am, out of all of us, the newest member of the city of Camden. I moved here in 2015, and one of the very first events I went to was the event that you were just speaking.
Night Garden.
The Night Garden, yeah, because I moved here in August. And so, yeah, that was incredible. I'm from North Jersey, born and raised, went to college in New York City, studied fashion design, specifically accessory design at the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York City. I went on and got my BA in studio art, and then got my master's in art with a focus on design and craft. And so, and all of that was in North Jersey. I found myself in South Jersey because this is where my husband is from, and here we are. We just had a son that we named Camden 4 years ago. And so when I came here in 2015, it was kind of like walking into, I don't know. So I moved here to the waterfront. So the waterfront is just a whole different experience, right? If you live in the Victor, you can walk across the bridge and be in Philadelphia in just a few minutes. You can bike. You have the waterfront. You have, this park space. You have the college. And it's just ideal. It's gorgeous. It's like crime-free. There's no litter on the ground. You live in a building where they take your dry cleaning for you, like everything. Like it was not realistic as far as what living in Camden really is about, right? And so I got to know Camden through volunteering. And so actually my second night at the Victor, I met Vidra. She performed. And I was like, oh my God, I gotta go see. There's a performance downstairs. And immediately I introduced myself to her. We went out to lunch, and we've been besties ever since. But what I found, Vidra at the time was like a creative director. I don't remember your title over at the neighborhood center, but immediately I told her, since she's working with teens, I would love to come in for free and just do some jewelry design workshops. Like, just get to meet the girls of Camden and see how I can take my knowledge, talent, and make use of it here in Camden. And the neighborhood center is not in a great neighborhood, so I got to really leave my little bubble on the waterfront and get into the city, I later became a Girl Scout troop leader in the city of Camden. I started substitute teaching in the city of Camden. I launched the fashion design program at Mastery High School in the city of Camden. So now I became a realtor in the city of Camden. So now I know the city quite well, like the back of my hand. But I found, coming from a city like Newark, where I grew up, and then going to college in New York City, and then living in other cities like Atlanta, and spending a great amount of time in Philadelphia, comparing all of that to Camden, it was just like Camden was like this blank canvas. Like, it has had, things have changed in the 6.5 years I've been here, but at the time it was like, this place has nothing. It has nothing. Like, there's no place for kids to go and take an arts program, a photography class, a fashion design class. There's no museum. There's no museum programming. There's no art tours, no historic spaces that we can all, it has nothing. It has all these abandoned buildings and What it did have, though, was warmth. Like, I've never felt like I was in danger in Camden. So, like, my family gave me such a hard time, like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, I had left Newark and moved into the suburbs like you're supposed to do, bought a house and all the things. And then I decided later in life to remarry and move into Camden, and everyone looked at me like I was moving in reverse. Like, why would you do something like that? But what I felt in Camden was a sense of community. Like, people, I've been there now, it's almost 7 years. Never have I felt like I was in danger. No one has, I've lived in the suburbs and had my car broken into. You know what I mean? No one's ever broken into my car. No one's ever threatened me. People see me on a Sunday morning looking at abandoned properties because I am a realtor, and people say good morning, you know. They say, oh, hi, how are you doing? They ask me if I need any help, you know. And so people are so warm. So it was just like a really blank canvas where anything was possible. You know, I could set up my own programming. I could launch a business. I could do so many things without there being all these ready-made, visible and invisible blockages, you know? And so that's what I loved about Camden. But because I am on the fashion side, I tell Vidra all the time, this is the first time I've ever been invited to be involved in a public arts programming. You know what I mean? Because it's just like, what can I do with a mural? And this gave me the opportunity when they said, take this letter C and do what you please. Well, what I please to do is work in fibers, you know? So I took all of these fibers that I have from all over the world, and I kind of patched them together because that's the way I see the city of Camden. People from all over the place. I meet people from South America. I meet people from as close as South Philly, you know, and they're all kind of just living together and working it out. And it's this beautiful patchwork. And that's what I created with my letter C.
Priscilla, go for it.
Hi guys, my name is Priscilla Rios. I'm 22 years old. Well, years young. Yeah.
Yes, baby. I could be your mama.
So my experience with Camden is, honestly, I relate with what she's saying about, like, never feeling that presence of, like, danger or, like, feeling like I'm unsafe. So, like, I believe I was always homebound because there is this stigma of Camden being, like, this dangerous place and stuff like that. Obviously, in every, you know, state you go to, everywhere, you know, it's part of human nature where it's just, like, you're going to have the bad things to places, but, like, I never felt like I couldn't walk the streets at night, or I never felt like I had to, like, look over my shoulders or anything like that. And obviously, sometimes it's different for other people because they do experience that. And so, like, but parts of Camden that it kind of ties into, like, my letter A and my letter E of my design for Camden is the abandoned buildings. I love those so much because those were part of my experience growing up. I used to explore them, or, like, it's like a sense of, like, history that kind of passed by, and it's like you wonder, like, wow, like, there were just people in here, like, working and stuff like that, and it just gives that nice, like, feel to it. Another part is, like, the trains and the graffiti. Like, I love taking the river line. I love, like, just the fact that we have trains here is just so cool. And then just, like, seeing, like, the graffiti on the walls, and, like, that gives it such, like a pop of color. Like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, it's just so, like, eccentric. And so I started off as, like, a bedroom artist, just creating art as, like, a hobby for myself. I'm an acrylic painter and digital artist. And so, like, I've always wanted to have an opportunity to portray what Camden looks like to me. So within my letter A, I incorporate a lot of nature because I used to explore outside of Camden to see the nature here, but you never realize that, you know, you can just explore in Camden, and there's parks, there's preserves, there's just things that I was never aware of until, like, 2020, and it's just, like, so that's why I have, like, the nature, I have these paper hats within my design of the letter A, and that's supposed to be for the cargo ships that be passing by through, like, the Delaware River, because that is also very important to the city of Camden because we are affected by the river. We're affected by the flooding and the illegal dumpings and like all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to shine on that, and then I have like the factories that I have within my design, and like the abandoned buildings, and then you have like the bridge, because where I live in Kramer Hill, and so like when I go over the hill to go into Kramer Hill, you can see like the bridge from there, and so like you can see the bridge from anywheres, and so within my letter E, I just have like a graffiti wall with like the words freedom, because through art and through art, it's like you just get a lot of freedom and like expressions, and that's just kind of like how I see like Camden is like we were that brick wall, but we're starting to cover up that wall and just be like, not like there's freedom here, and we could just like break through, and that's just how I feel like every single day. So when I got the opportunity from Vidra to have this, like I was just on board for it, and I was just so there. So my experiences with Camden is like amazing, even for the short amount of like lifespan I've been here on Earth. So
Great.
And yeah, that's it.
Awesome. All right, so I guess I'm next. My name is Eric James Montgomery, and originally I'm from East Orange / Newark, New Jersey. Yes. Shout out. Okay. And I moved down to this area in 1999, and when I first came to Camden, I heard, I knew nothing about South Jersey, so I came down here on a whim. My family and I were looking for schools, better schools than from North Jersey. We had, at our time, our oldest daughter was in high school, freshman, and our baby was just 5 years old. So long story short, we found a great school system, and then I opened up a studio in Haddonfield. But I always had a yearning for urban art. I grew up in the inner city. I cut my teeth as a self-made artist, self-taught artist, bless you. I started with graffiti at a very young age, and that was my first public art, although illegal, but it was my first wave of public art. And that taught me a lot about engaging the culture, making sure that I could promote myself, making sure that I'm able to relate to my audience, right? Because at that time, although Newark is known for its arts, they weren't letting people into their galleries that look like me. So, right? So, it's a lot different now. And after I left East Orange, I went to Columbia University, studied responsive pedagogy, and then I went to the Academy of Art University to study fine art photography. So I teach, I'm an artivist, I'm a photographer, I'm a lover of life. But in Camden, when you said blank canvas, I chuckled to myself because I always felt that way as well. When somebody could see an abandoned building and say that somebody may see an abandoned building, but I see a way to promote my artwork and to help the community feel good about themselves. And so whether it's from my graffiti roots or from my social activism, I always see and look for situations to connect people and art. The communities that I serve, they won't go to a MoMA or the PMA, but they'll walk down to their bodega, and if I could put some artwork in between their home and the bodega, now they're experiencing art. So I'll look for these opportunities, whether it's on a small scale, I'll print out some pictures, I'll put a sticky note on it, say free art, take me home, and let people just take art home, because a lot of times people may not be able to afford my prints, let alone my larger pieces, but I want that to be a barrier from people obtaining fine art. So there's a few things that I do in Camden, and fast forward, when we connected, Vidra and I connected a few years ago, through the Camden is Bright Not Blight project that I was doing on many different locations in Camden. And if you didn't see us together for 9 months, we were Siamese twins.
We were everywhere together. It was great.
To the point that we were answering each other's questions, bringing each other food.
Yeah, picking up coffee.
Are you sleeping?
Yeah.
So we're both married separate, but we were definitely in a relationship for like 8 months.
Work husband.
We were, yeah, definitely. But in that, I was able to learn about her passion of the city, right? Because she's humble. She could have went anywhere around the world to do what she's doing. Highly educated, highly sought after. but she decided to come back to Camden. And I love people like that, that even if you do leave physically, you never leave emotionally, right? So Vidra and I connected on that level. I never told you about that, but I always admire her for that. Same, right? So when we connected on an art level, she knew how to zig when I zag. She knew my heart. She knew that I don't like to manipulate people or situations. I will never be that person that would just come in and do an art project without connecting to the community. That's super important to me, because then I have a term called Columbusing, where you come in, you do the artwork, and then you leave out. And then people are like, I don't know you. Who are you? What did you do? Even if we look the same background, same culture, I make it a point to make connections, right? So in that, when the second project, I'm going to fast forward, when the second project came about for Camden Invincible, I knew I wanted to be a part of it. And I picked the letter M for Montgomery. I'm doing a lot of thinking back over my life. So I'm turning 50 this year, actually tomorrow. Yeah. Tick, tick, tick. Wow. Yeah, crazy. So anybody who's having like a milestone moment in their life, they normally look back in life and think about the things they did or didn't do. And for me, one of the things that I'm constantly thinking about is my father not being here anymore. Because he was probably the first person who introduced me to Black culture at the age of 8. Like, I was learning all about Black culture. The first person that bought me an airbrush and spray paint and my first camera that I still have and all of that. So he always supported me in my arts. When I used to dance, he would come and see me perform. He was always supporting me. So for him not to be here, I wanted to create a memorial for him. So that's why I chose the letter M for Montgomery. And I guess I can get more into detail about the whole process of what I chose to do with the letter, but that's me, that's my letter, and I'm going to pass it on. Yeah.
I guess I'm up. My name is Donald Williams, and I am the original Camdenite. I'm the only guy, not the only person. I know Vidra was born in Camden also.
I'm born, and Priscilla was born in Camden.
And Priscilla.
It's your sister.
But I'm the oldest. Let's put that right. Yes. I'm like when my grandmother used to tell, I would say to my grandma, I love you. And then she would say, I love you also. Then I said, well, I love you more. And then she said, I would love you first. So I couldn't beat that. So I got that. So I'm glad that you guys are in Camden, because we need the energy. We need this energy to come in here. Vidra, I'm so glad I met you, because I needed to meet you. I love that you guys, we all is able to work together since we met each other, you know, from day one. So I'm glad. I'm going to give you guys a story. Years ago, you're right, when you guys came in here, Camden was an empty canvas. Years ago, before the empty canvas, before it was an empty canvas, they had a program called the Weed and Seed program. And we did the original murals that you see in Camden, along with Kimberly Camp. She was in charge of going around the city, getting all the young artists. I was one of the young artists that she looked at me. I showed her my work. I was into computers at the time, going to computer programs. She seen my artwork, pointed at me and said, you're an artist. And from that day on, I like computers. But we originally, what we had then, we had the Weed and Seed program, and then everything dried up. Not for 5 years, not 10 years, 15, 20, 30 years, just dried, nothing. You know, so we started from the 80s, and from 90s, the drugs came in, crack, all that. So that's what happened. That took a lot away. And I'm gonna say this too. I'm a teacher, or trying to get out of teaching. But they keep dragging me back. I just got an email today to ask to come back to teaching. But I've been teaching and doing art for years. That's all I know. And I love my city, and I needed help. And I was so glad. It was years ago now. After when I first met Vidra, we got on one of the first public art things I did after 20, 30 years was welcome to North Camden. So where I did that sign, and ever since that day, and the moment we went, when I met Vidra, and they told me that your artwork was chosen for, welcome to North Camden, and she read my mind. We exploded since then. I was able to tell Vidra that I wanted to do art. I want us to I got all these kids, Vija. I got all these students that know art. They are just brilliant, you know. But we need something. We need direction. Cooper Ferry came in, and they threw Bloomsbury Award. Now, she said we're one of the cities that got the Bloomsbury Award, but it's only 7 cities.
Five. Out of I think there were 250 applicants that year?
Yes. Wow. Only 5. And Camden was one of the cities that got that Bloomsbury Award. This is the grant writer right here. So we need we need that. We needed the energy of these people that come. I was sending Vija emails of cities the whole buildings are painted and everything. And I tell her, this is what we need to do here in Camden. Look at all these buildings. Everywhere I look, I see a picture. I see a portrait. You know, because that's what we need. You know, culture brings dignity, brings energy, class. You know, inspiration. You know, all these things that you guys give, fashion. Priscilla, what I say about Priscilla today? Beautiful. Adrienne, Eric, I could go on and on and on and on and on. People that's not even here. I could name these incredible artists. And they're all from Camden, New Jersey. And all we need now, and we got it, we got something going on. All we need now is, we already got the spark, but now we need more energy behind us. So I'm glad Perkins said, come on in and, you know, talk about yourselves, you know. So sure, let's do that. My letter was the letter N. I gave you guys a real quick story on the letter N. I didn't even realize it. Somebody said that when we was doing the unveiling, they said, oh, you got the letter N for neighborhood. That's why you did your letter N for neighborhood. I was like, N, neighborhood, yeah. That's why. I didn't even realize it that I did. My artwork was based on the neighborhood. I had the letter N. My artwork is done in purple and gold and orange and black. There's 2 sides of the city. When I was growing up, on Friday, basketball season, football season, purple and gold on one side of the city, orange and black on the other side of the city. Loved it. We had this thing going on. No battles, just, you know, pep rallies. You know, purple and gold, orange and black. So that's the experience I got. My end came from inspiration. It took me, you gave us the letters on Tuesday, right. Had to have them by Friday. I couldn't think of anything until Wednesday or Thursday night, you know, and it just came to me. So I broke it up and I was like, just started putting down names. I put down Mike Rozier, Heisman Trophy winner, Camden, New Jersey. Patty Dunlap, Olympic, 1978, Camden, New Jersey. I could go Itchy Smith, who is a legendary basketball star in Camden, New Jersey. We got Donkey Steak. You know, Dunkies is world. Everybody, the best steaks in the country. Dunkies, Camden, New Jersey. The Panzerotti was born in Camden, New Jersey. The Panzerotti, born here in the city of Camden, New Jersey. That's Camden. I could go on and on and on and on. Centerville, East Camden, Martin Pike. I could name a person or a block or a city, and somebody's there that was great. I just looked at my book today, and I was telling Vija, we had a meeting a couple weeks ago, and I'm going to shut up after this. I could take over, you know. We had a meeting a couple weeks ago with a couple former Camden, New Jersey, McLean Thomas and Cedric Smith. McLean. Yes, Thomas. Yeah. And Smith. Yeah. Camden, New Jersey. Ms. Thomas is an incredible artist, and I used to teach her niece. She was one of my students. She kept telling me about her aunt. I had to look her up. I was like, what? Your aunt? It's a big deal. Yeah, bigger. So, but they came here. They're from Camden, New Jersey. Ms. Smith is a producer, artist, writer, and she has a sister that's a movie star, and they're from Camden, New Jersey. I could go on, and it's like, wow, the history. But that's our city. Yeah. You know, our city doesn't get the respect that it deserves. No, it doesn't. Mm-hmm. But listen, people, it's major. You know, it's like the hub to New York, to Washington, to Philadelphia. You know, we are. Yes, super cool. Camden. All right, I'm done.
So that's a little bit from our artist. We're missing one, Brainerd Garcia today, who, which letter was he, D? Yeah, so, but he, similarly born and raised in Camden, has done a lot of really cool environmental projects in the city as well, and was excited to bring his own flavor. And I think that's what was so exciting about this project, is that when assigning the letters, maybe you had to think about it for a minute. I did give everybody a quick timeline.
I knew I wanted the first letter.
Yes,
I just knew that.
You did. You knew it. You were like, I want
that
to
to me.
It was great. But it's, I think it's been really important to the work, to the public art projects that we create through the partnership, that they are of the city as well as for the city, right? Like that people are bringing all of the things that you just heard everybody talk about to the letter. Like you're riding by, you're looking at it, it's beautiful, it's great, but it's also, right, it's nature. It's I've lived here for 6 years. It's I transplanted here from North Jersey. It's I was born and raised here and have taught Micheline Thomas's niece. It's, it's all of that stuff that you see in these letters and that we hope to portray to the people that are passing by. It's been a really nice experience to have people that are so connected to the city be able to express yourselves through art that is enriching lives and creating culture and pride and all of those things that art does for people, and creating a meaningful experience in the lives of Camden residents. And we do it in more ways than one, but we do it through art. So
And for me, that mural, I think people drive down Admiral Wilson on their way to Philly a lot, and to have this vibrant, colorful mural as a reminder that we're not just a doorway, we're not just a space between where you are and in your space that you're trying to get to in Philadelphia. Camden is full of people who deserve your love, your respect. This mural is just a reminder of all of our vibrancy, in that we're here and that we matter.
I want to add this also. I love the fact that we changed it from City Invincible to Camden Invincible.
Now this was a controversial move. I'm just going to put it out there, but I'm glad that people liked it.
You take more ownership that way. City Invincible is anonymous. That's any city in any part of the country. Right. But when you say Camden Invincible, this is Camden, New Jersey. This we talk about us, our city. So we take pride in that. That's us. That's our letters.
One of the things that I experienced a lot growing up in Camden and still being a Camden resident, and right after having left, and I've done a lot of other things, toured the world, done a lot of things, is I think you might be surprised at how many times I've heard people say, Camden, nobody lives there.
Yeah.
Right?
Who says that? Oh, yeah.
People.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
People
Camden.
think-
Camden?
yeah.
Nobody
Bunch
lives
of
there.
crackheads.
First of all, I live there. You're talking to me. Like, what about weird? Am I nobody? Right? And like you said, 77,000 people live there. Down from, 100 and whatever, however many years ago when Camden was when cities were a different thing. But yeah, like people who are living lives full of what lives are full of everywhere, and also who care about their city and their people and their families, and who deserve art and enrichment and vibrancy and culture, and for those things to be organic and part of our experience. And I think while I believe that both of these things can be true at the same time, Tarina, you said something earlier about Camden being a blank canvas, and I think that is true. And I think that there is in the nobody lives there comment, there is I think an overarching sense of nothing's there as well, which is another thing. But again, these things can be true at the same time. But when you're growing up in Camden and experiencing Camden as a resident, I feel like that never crossed my mind ever, that I didn't have something, that there was nothing there. Like there were always.
But let me ask you, I'm assuming that you did all normal things like, ballet lessons, piano
Not all of them in Camden.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, even as a parent being here,
right,
just trying to find programming for my two kids. I have a 4-year-old and I have a child who's almost 18. A lot of the things that I have to do is outside of the city.
And I think that there are
even just tumbling classes, just cute little things that you do with your kid.
I'd say a few things. One, I have a lot of things to say about that. But first of all, a couple of things. One is there's definitely a different experience of having been born and raised and coming in. Right, it takes a little while. Camden is, it's kind of, the ecosystem is closed in a sense, and so we're very used to kind of doing our things for ourselves and our people. So if you're one of the residents, you might have a little bit more insight into what programs are available, and it takes a little time to catch on to some of those things. There are also plenty of gaps, right? Like there's plenty of room for fashion design school. There's plenty of room for, nature programming, photography classes, like the things that you do. Like there's so much more that can be added. There's so much that we lost in white flight. There's so much that we lost in the war on drugs. Anybody that was in Camden, like my dad is this story, right? He moved to Camden when he was 6. He's 82. He wanted for nothing other than racial equality, I'd say, right? Like there were things that he couldn't do because he was a black man, but it wasn't because they didn't exist in town. And I think we are rebuilding to that point. The other thing I will say is that like Camden is a little bit interesting geographically as well. Like our nice 9 square miles of an urban center is like kind of an, I don't know if I want to say it's like an antiquated idea, but there's nothing wrong with including like our suburbs in our ecosystem.
Yeah, to me, there's no other way.
Right.
Yeah.
It just tends to be an issue, I think, again, based on just like segregation and racism. Like sometimes it's hard for people to feel like they can traverse those lines.
And I'm finding that because even as a Girl Scout troop leader, I find that, for instance, we had our bridging event on the waterfront because that's where I chose because I've only been here 6 years, and 3 of those years, no, really 5 of those years were spent on the waterfront, and 3 at the Victor, and then 3 at Royal Court. And so because I hosted my event at the waterfront for the Girl Scouts, I had so many parents complain that they had never been to this park, had never heard of this park, was not aware of this park, was upset that we had it at this park. They never come down to the waterfront. Matter of fact, they were saying that the last time they were down at the waterfront, there was a jail there. And I was like, okay, I've been here for a minute. There ain't no jail here now. So,
and to me, like this is such a beautiful story because part of what happened when we built this jail on the waterfront, which is why this was one of our illegal dumping sites. Like it's not illegal to build a jail, but it is dumping to build a private prison on a waterfront property inside of a neighborhood. That is dumping. And that jail was fought tooth and nail by the residents for the very reason that you're explaining. It's dead space. Like now we lose it. And so when the jail went bankrupt and came down, my boss, who Camden Community Partnership. And as we speak, exactly, this is her last day in the office, but she hosted the very first Camden Night Gardens, where that jail was, in an effort to lobby the state of New Jersey to turn it into a park, which it is now. Beautiful waterfront park. Anyway, but yes, but people, anytime somebody arrives at that site and says that they didn't know that this was here now, I just feel that this is a triumph, especially a resident, right? Yeah. There's a reason they didn't know it was there. Oh. Why would they have ever gone? It was a jail.
It was a jail.
Now
right.
It's a community asset.
And when I tell people, I'm like, you realize you could catch the ferry here right into Philly and this bike riding, the skate boarding and things like that. And people are so hell-bent in telling me, well, this wasn't here for us. This was not meant for us. And I'm just like, well, am I not us? Because I'm using it,
That's what I feel. So, and it's popular. I mean, I think that happens a lot. Like, it's hard sometimes in the neighborhoods to make your way to the waterfront sometimes, but it's for everybody. It's a public good, and it is in stark contrast to the way that Camden has been using its waterfront for many years. And I think this is why it's somewhat of a new concept. It's been so industrialized. It's been so populated with everything from the CCMUA, where we dispose of the Camden County's municipal waste, to where we burn the trash, to where we build the ships and everything else. And now it is time to reclaim that space for the residents. Yeah. And that is the goal. And one of the ways that we do that is by what you guys do, right? By creating this art, by putting a sculpture there and asking somebody to go, by saying that Camden is invincible with these letters that come from your heart.
In the winter, you guys had the tree lighting there.
Right.
All of these things that pull people to the waterfront, I think is so vital because to me, one of the best things about the city is the waterfront. So for 90% of the residents feel disconnected from it, it's sad.
Right. Yeah. And that's what that kind of development does, right? It disconnects people from their space. And now we're turning the tide a different way. And I for one, am very proud of that, and I hope that more residents embrace it. And I believe that we will over time.
Yeah, totally.
You guys have questions too?
Is there an opportunity to go into the neighborhoods as well as try to get the neighborhoods to the waterfront?
It's a great question. So Yes, the short answer is yes. Well, remember too, remember that Camden is just a city like any place else. So the same way this probably happens in your towns, it probably happens in our towns, right? So our neighborhoods have associations, and people create kind of their own internal content. And more and more, I will say, since people have been coming out of the woodwork creatively, neighborhoods are asking for public art. Mm-hmm. So we have 3 neighborhoods that we work with right now that have neighborhood plans that are approved by the city and so eligible for different kinds of funding. Mm-hmm. And when they are applying for their funding, when they applied for their 2022 funding, they all asked for money for public art, and they all 3 got it. Mm-hmm. So we'll be doing public art projects in Kramer Hill, North Camden, and East Camden this year. And we're not working with Parkside, but I think Parkside is also doing a public art project. Right, I live in Parkside, so I'll see what we're up to. And and on from there. The other neighborhoods who haven't had it yet are on the way. I think that there's definitely been a spark created specifically for public art. But absolutely, in terms of other things that you can do, I can tell you what awesome things there are to do in Parkside. You can go to Donkey Steaks, you can go to Corinne's, now you can take Dare to Dances in Parkside, you can take dance class now. That was something that I would have done inside the city had there been a dance school when I was growing up, but I did dance outside. And And
even you have the programming that you did with the canoes.
Oh yes,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Priscilla
awesome.
might be able to speak to this as well. There's a big push, same topic, right, to get Camden residents to understand, appreciate, and partake of the nature that exists in the city of Camden. And one of the ways that we do this is by hosting paddle events where people can take out canoes and kayaks on the river. There's ways that you can sign up and pay. There are free events. There's kind of any number of them, but several of our waterfront parks are launch points that are easily accessible by canoe. And maybe one day in the future, one of them will have a beach. That's what I heard. But that has a lot. There's a lot of other things that have to happen, including like cleaning up the back channel a little bit more for that to be a thing. But it's coming. But Priscilla, you work with CAS. Like, what kind of stuff do we do?
Yeah, definitely. We didn't have access to the Delaware River as like we do today. So there's a lot of like kayaking programs that I've hosted myself on the Delaware on the back channel where Petty Island is at, and it's like
people do it, yeah.
Yeah, there's like a lot of people that like attend the events, and they're like, wow, like I didn't know you can go kayaking in Camden. And it's like, yeah, like now we can, because like we're taking care of the water, and like we're doing like what we need to do,
And there's programming with the teenagers, and even at my school where I teach art at Sacred Heart, there's a canoe building program. Right. Kids are building canoes out of wood, and they're gorgeous.
It's amazing. They're works of art all their own.
They really are.
Yeah.
They're beautiful.
Yeah, and I've had the same experience. When we do our paddle events through Connect the Lots, people are like, I didn't know that we could do this. I didn't know that we could get out this way in Camden. And part of it is that you couldn't always.
Yeah.
Yeah, like these are, the water was there, right? But the access is being built now, and the interest as well. So it's another great way to kind of get people to see the beauty. Yes, ma'am.
How are you guys inspiring young activists and artists that are coming up behind you to kind of teach them?
I'll take that. I'll hop on that one. So personally, I run a nonprofit organization called the EJM Foundation, where we teach underserved youth the art and business of photography. And we do that locally in the tri-state area. I do that virtually all throughout the United States, and knock on wood, in Africa starting in July. So, new announcement, hot off the press, right? So, very excited about that. But as far as activism concerns, in any of the classes that I teach, in any of the programs that I do, whether it's at colleges, high schools, community centers, or virtually, I always try to implement self-portraiture, which will build up self-esteem, which would engage people to be artivists, to use their art and activism for the world. So I don't want my students to be little me's. I try to teach them to be big U's, right? So I teach them how to find out who they are and what they're passionate about, and to articulate that literally in their artwork. So for my organization, it allowed me to team up with all the people that you see here, different organizations, but in Camden itself, it allowed me to teach some people's children, to offer free programming, cameras even, for young people who can't afford this type of work, and then give them the opportunities to create and to explore. So
And to show, you show their work in gallery spaces. Yeah.
Absolutely. So whether it's an intangible exhibit or online, it's just giving them opportunities to be creative and to share who they are personally. But I'm not the only organization that does that. So the dance programs, every program that you would see in Camden, they always implement some type of social consciousness in it because that's the world that we live in, right? So we're trying to help these students understand that all this energy that you have going on, you can fine tune it in a positive way. And that's one of the biggest things that I'm proud about in Camden. Absolutely.
I can also speak. Do we have time? Okay. I also have like something to like kind of go off of that as well. So actually, how I start, like I said before, I started as like a small bedroom artist, and so when I met Vidra for the in New View Camden, that was my first time ever working with like public art and like getting involved like with the community. That's actually how I felt like now I'm actually part of Camden community, that I'm actually going out and like doing these things. And so, like, I was working on at one space called Touching the Earth. And so, like, it's this nice plot of land, and just kind of, like, they have, like, sculptures and, like, beautiful flowers and everything. And so I was looking at the walls, and so I was, like, talking to my boss, and I was like, it would be nice to kind of have, like, a mural here. And so, like, he was like, oh, okay. And then, you know, what's it called? Like a day had passed by, and I didn't really think about it. You know, you just have a conversation, and you get through it. And he came back to me when I was working the next day, and he was like, "Oh, so like we're thinking about doing like a mural here." And I was like, "Whoa!" Like all I had to do was just kind of like ask and just like kind of just suggest it, and
Blank canvas.
yeah, and I was able to get like my first ever mural coming from a small bedroom artist. Like, oh, I'm just painting just to paint, and then now I actually have like one of my designs on a house. I was just like, whoa, like this is crazy. And so, being a born and raised Camden resident, it's just kind of like you would see other people coming from like other states to come to Camden to leave their mark, and like how Eric was saying, like they just come and leave it, and then they just leave. And it's just kind of like, well, we don't really know you, so what? And so being that person to have something there, it's just like, it created like this spark in me to be like, well, anyone in Camden can really do this. Like if you just ask, or like if, I don't really know how to describe it, but
I see what you're saying, because I think as an outsider, you do become a little judgmental, because you're just like, there's so much opportunity. Everyone's complaining about what isn't here, but no one's stopping you. No one's stopping you. So, but I think that, you know, because like I said, my husband was born and raised here, and he, you know, grew up in the 80s and 90s. And so I think when you come from what newbies like me had the pleasure of missing, I missed the crack era in Camden. You know what I mean? I think if you come through that, you are probably suffering from some post-traumatic syndrome. And so you do feel, and you probably lost loved ones. You probably had relatives on drugs. You probably saw your neighborhood go downhill. And you probably are just happy just to have survived it. And so you probably just don't even have the energy. You know what I mean? You don't have the energy. You feel like just a little defeated, you know, that you just don't, yes, no one's stopping you, but you still need resources. Sometimes the resources are financial. Sometimes you need a social network. You need opportunity to see what is possible. And I think coming from outside, all you see is all the blank walls and the opportunity, you know, and so you just jump right in and you make things happen. And I think, you know, sometimes it could cause resentment with people who have been born and raised here, you know. I'm sorry.
You know, programs like yours at Fashion Design,
Fashion Design Center, South
Fashion
Jersey.
Design Center, South Jersey. Programs like Eric's through Camden Fireworks. Donald working as a teacher in the schools, and then what we tried to do with the Artist Apprentice program, which is how I met Priscilla. Like this, I think is, you know, like it's very inspiring for me to see the artist community do kind of what you're saying, like people sometimes just need a little example. People are traumatized.
Yeah, I can
people are
imagine.
tired. People are burnt out, and it's difficult to, especially I think for a young creative person, he's like, oh, I gotta make money. Like, what do I do? Like, is it between fast food and like auto tech? It's fine. Like, whatever you want to do with your career, your life, and you make your money and your stuff. But if art is what's burning inside you, then I'm glad that we are here to say, like, yes, there is guidance for this. Right. There is an apprenticeship program for this. There is a school teacher for this. There's a photography program. There's a fashion design program. There are people that have done this. There are people that do this. And please learn from us. Please come up behind us. Like, if somebody wants to be a touring musician in a musical, please, I can talk to you about this. This is something that you can do, And I think, right, like when people's parents are working 3 or 4 jobs and whatever else that people are doing to kind of survive and get through with the whatever is the residuals of the drug era, we really, we are these people to step out and say, like, come on, like, we'll pick you up, like, let's go. Like, there's such a wide world out there, and not just out there, like in here. This world is in Camden as well. You want to be an artist, you can do it here. You don't have to go to Philly. We got you. And it's just fun to have that. And Priscilla's mural is beautiful. It's at 5th and Erie Street, called Lanternfly Bug, and you would never believe that it was her first mural. You would never believe it. It's fantastic.
And it, like,
yeah, and it I feel like it did. It launched you.
But like, it also like blossomed into something bigger. Like the New View Camden was just like, that was my first time ever experiencing that. And so like the turnabout is that like now like I'm with a group of artists, and so now we're called the We Live Here Artist Collective that we want here in Camden. So it's just it's really good. And so now we're just like Camden residents that want to create more art like within Camden.
That's what we love to see.
And it is a little artivism, right? Like it is like,
people taking over your spaces.
Yeah, it's community spaces. It's getting people psyched about issues. It's talking about stuff. It's beautification. It's abandoned buildings. It's vacant walls. It's all that stuff.
Yeah. Aren't you the president of that?
Own it.
Well, I'm a professor at Drexel, and I have a class starting in 20 minutes. So
thank you.
I gotta go, unfortunately.
Can I ask one question?
Oh, absolutely.
If you could, so the group of us that are sitting here, and for anybody who then watches this afterwards when we post it, if you could ask for one thing from the community, whether it's your nuclear community or your expanded community, what would that be?
I know what it is for me.
Okay.
Even the very first programming that I set up, was in relation to IDEA, when IDEA was at the Rowan building. What I found was we canvassed all of these businesses and got funding because we didn't want these children not to be able to be in my summer camp, fashion design summer camp, because of finances. And so they all were issued scholarships because local businesses paid the way. But the parents, they were all there day 1. Some were there day 2. By day 3, I probably was at like 30% enrollment. The parents just are too busy working 2 or 3 jobs to keep a roof over their head to bring their kids to programming. So busing, some type of way to, even now, 5 years later, my programming for like after school programs, which I make available to students throughout the city, everyone says the same thing. I don't have a way to get to where you are, Miss Hill. No one has transportation. Their parents can't take them at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Their parents are still at work. I lived in Newark. We just jumped on the bus. We jumped on public transportation. Apparently, that's not a thing in Camden, and kids don't really jump on public transportation much. And so, I don't want them walking down Broadway either. But there is no way for kids to get to programs, no matter how great they are, no matter how much funding we get, grants we get to create this programming. If we can't get the kids there because they don't have transportation, it's all in vain. So that's what I would hope. I don't know what the solution is, but some type of busing for after school programming.
I would
a concentration on infrastructure development as well. I think like one of the things we struggle with is making sure that our roads are paved. And that they have,
or there's a bike lane,
and
so
that they
kids
have
can ride a bike. Yeah, there's
I'm
a bike
always
lane.
like,
Oh, I'm so
please,
sorry.
for the
I'm so
bike
passionate
lanes.
about that.
Yes. The bike lane should be free and clear. Kids are on bikes.
Yeah,
I see them
I'm
on
on a
bikes.
bike.
Yeah, you're on a bike.
I'm on a
Exactly.
bike.
People are on bikes and without helmets sometimes. And I'll be like, we need the bike lane. Yeah.
Right.
And the what is it? The Camden Glassboro line. Whoever's listening, please build it. We're looking. There's supposed to be another train coming, so we could use that.
I guess like really taking care of these green spaces is like really where my mind is at, and also like not judging people, and I guess like homeless populations and like the people that are on drugs, like if anything, if you have like extra toothpaste or something, and please like give it to them, or like anything just helps them. You know, we're all human beings at the end of the day. You know, we're all struggling in some ways. Yeah. Yeah, like the basic necessities, and we have to struggle for even that, just to drink water. Like what? We gotta pay. It's crazy, but just like keep our areas clean, and just don't judge each other, and just help out as much as you can, and just speak up about issues that you're facing. So. Mm-hmm.
So I agree, and I would say we would have to silence the stigmas. So with Camden, there's so many stigmas. At one point, it was the country's most dangerous city, whatever that may look like. And that stigma still is looming over the city. So we can create beautiful murals. We have all these programs, but if you're scared to come into Camden, then it's just going to be for us. And although we create programs for Camdenites, we want everybody to partake and to participate, because that's what the arts do. So we want to have people have conversations with somebody from Camden. Get the real story. Don't just go online and say, okay, these are all the negative things that you have going on. Talk to people about how they made it, about how you can go to Harvard and come back and do meaningful things in Camden. Talk to somebody who has overcome drug and alcohol abuse and now are serving their community in a dynamic way. There's so many great stories, but if we focus on the stigma, then that story is going to become a nightmare.
I'll let you go.
Oh man, I was. I had to think about this question because I'm thinking about the history of Camden also, and we talked about the period that we went through during the 80s and the 90s when the crack cocaine came in. My third year teaching, there was over 64 deaths that my third year teaching. That's more than a body a week, apart. So we had all these different things, but one thing I learned then, there was no avenues, there was no pathways to go to do anything. And I'm going to do a little bit of history right here. 1980, up to 1980, you was able to go into the service without your GED. You could go into the service without your GED and get your GED while you was in the service. In 1980, they took that pathway away. They told you had to have your GED first. So that was the way, I know friends of mine, who they went into the service, got their GED, and made a life for themselves. Years later, that's what they was able to do. Family, life, a productive citizen. But that pathway for us in 1980 was taken away from us, from laws that they created that saying, oh, you need your GED. Now it's taken away from us. And now all they're saying, we got to get these war on drugs. You got these gangs in the street. It's like everything was like, planned for failure. To keep us, or I don't want to go into this thing about racism, but it was like a plan. Once they did the GED removal, there's no pathway. All of a sudden, these guys are in the street trying to figure out what to do. We'll sell drugs. So that's the pathway.
They ship the drugs in.
Yeah, they ship the drugs in.
said, you said,
And
here,
then the
sell
next thing
these.
we have private prisons. It's like everything was just like one step at a time to make sure this is taken away. So it's going to take us 40 years to recover from what happened in 1980. That's how long it takes for generations to turn over, so we can start fresh all over again. So that, for me, if I had to say, right now we're on a good path. Yeah. So I would say, I don't know what the answer is. I just know that we went through something that was traumatic. And right now we're on a good path and we're recovering. You know, that's what we're doing right now. We're recovering, we're trying to get better. You know, so we're doing the art thing. That's recovery, you know. That is for your mind, your soul, your spirit. Then physically, they're going to start working in the city physically. You know, doing our streets, our pave, our foundation. Those are things, those are steps. But it's going to take us time to get there, but we're on the right path. You know, because we live here.
Yeah, we live here.
We live here. I love it. So I was echo one thing that you said. When I was on tour, I used to ask the technicians all the time. I'd be like, why does it take 3 days to put the show together, but it only takes 4 hours to take it apart and put it in the truck? And they were like, because it takes longer to put stuff together than it does to blow it up, right? You know, and that's like this. That's like what we're looking at, right? Like it took 2 minutes to ship in the crack and build the private prisons and like blow the whole thing up, right? But then, and then you end up being like, well, what is going on in Camden? Like, what is taking so long? It takes so long to build it back. And think about it when you're thinking about Ukraine, right? Like think about it, anything. It takes 2 seconds for somebody to blow your country up. But they're just going to be building it back. It's going to take so long to put it back together, brick by brick by brick. But my ask would be that people come. People come to town. If you go to the Connect the Lots website, it's www.ctlcamden.com for Connect the Lots. We just created a map that is a public art map.
I'm wearing mine.
Yes. Oh, yeah, there you go. A public art map. That'll show you all of the murals, the leftover A New View public art sites, all kinds of like any art center, and it'll give you a couple of restaurant recommendations as well. We want you to come. We want you to visit. We want you to see Lanternfly Bug. I want you to stop by Camden Fireworks and see Eric's awesome photos. I want you to see, I want you to stop by and see some of Donald's amazing portraits and let him draw your picture in 10 minutes or less, which is something that he does. I want you to eat a donkey steak. I want you to visit the waterfront. I want you to see this park that is where a prison used to be. I want you to see how we are building these blocks back together, and I want you to enjoy it while you're there. We just had a drink at the Hilton yesterday, outing myself. It was amazing. And we were like sitting there being like, this is lovely, right? And like 2 years ago, you couldn't do that. You could not have a cocktail on the Camden waterfront. Piece by piece, we're putting it back together. We're building it. Our neighborhoods are coming up. The bike lanes are going in, despite lots of controversy. My ask would be that people please come. People please come and visit, not just for XTU, all right? Not just to go to the BB&T. And please, when you come, do not throw your beer can on the ground, because now we have to pick it up. So come, enjoy, love it, embrace it, right? Get to know somebody and have a good time. Enjoy Camden Invincible.